So in example 3, they tell us that -1, -4 is a terminal point of an angle in standard position. So if I draw -1, 1, 2, 3, 4, that point right there, and that's on the terminal arm of an angle in standard position. So there's that positive angle in standard position. It could also possibly be the negative angle in standard position. It doesn't specify which, and it doesn't matter. We want to find out what sine of theta, cos of theta, tan of theta, cosecant of theta, secant of theta, and cotangent of theta is. And to determine the exact values of sine, cos, and tan, and then to figure out cosecant, secant, and cotangent, we're going to go back to the very first thing that we did when solving sine, cos, and tan. Sine, cos, and tan was used for what kind of shape? A triangle. And so one of the main strategies that we're going to use in this unit is to draw a triangle. And we're going to use that strategy a lot. How do we draw that triangle? Well, we know we have the point -1, -4. Theta is related to its reference angle, and we looked at reference angles and how important they were. Well, here's another reason they're important. Because when we make our triangle, we have to make our triangle with our reference angle. Now, when we make that triangle, do you know any of the lengths on that triangle? We know x and y, so how long is this side? 1. How long is this side? 4. Could you figure out the hypotenuse? How would you do that? A squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? Can you do that mental math? We're going to do so much a squared plus b squared equals c squared that maybe not yet, maybe you still need to show some work, but eventually you'll just look at the 1 and the 4 and you'll do it in your head and you'll be able to write that my hypotenuse is a square root of 17. Okay? So check if that makes sense for you, because we're going to do lots of a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and eventually we'll just be able to look at the numbers, do the mental math, and write down what the other length is. Then, in order to find sine theta, the definition of sine is it's the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Well, we have a triangle with our reference angle. The opposite side is 4. The hypotenuse is a square root of 17. And because it's in quadrant 3, right, remember our cast rule, what do we know about sine in quadrant 3? It's negative. So this fraction will be negative. Same thing with cos, adjacent over hypotenuse, and cos is negative in quadrant 3. But tan, opposite over adjacent, and you could write just 4 if you like. That one would be positive. In grade 11, when you had a square root on the bottom of the fraction, you learned you had to simplify it. Do you remember rationalizing the denominator? You would multiply the top and bottom by square root of 17 to simplify it. In grade 12, they assume that you know how to do that. And so because they make that assumption, they do not require you to rationalize. You can leave your answer as -4 over the square root of 17. So you don't have to simplify that further. And if it was square root of 20 on the bottom, they assume that you know how to simplify square roots, that square root of 20 is equal to 2 root 5. So you don't have to show that. Okay? If you decide to show that and make a mistake, they will deduct a half a mark. If you decide not to show that, you will get full marks. So it's recommended just to leave it as is. Now there's a couple of reasons for that. Is if you did that and then did the reciprocal, you'd get a square root on the bottom again. But now, when I do the reciprocal, and a reciprocal is just flipping the fraction, we're going to get that cosecant is square root of 17 over negative 4. So notice that your answer is just the reciprocal. Your answer here, square root of 17 over negative 1, and cotangent will be 1 over 4. The way that they check to see if you still know how to do all of those things with square roots is that whenever there's a multiple choice question that the square roots have to be simplified, they make sure that all of the answers in multiple choice have it simplified. So you still need to know how to do it. Doesn't mean like, woohoo, I don't have to remember that. It just means that when you're asked to write an answer, you won't have to show it. So our strategy, we draw a triangle. We lay with our reference angle. Once we have our triangle, we can do sine, cos, and tan. And once we have sine, cos, and tan, the reciprocal ones, all that happens is the answer gets flipped. The angle stays the same. Whatever this angle is, and we don't know what it is, but that angle stays the same, but the ratio gets flipped. Okay, questions for this one? It's just question number 8.